Let's go! National Signing Day Eve. I need some positive vibes, LSU fans. What is going on, baby? Like I said, positive vibes only. All right? Because the next 48 hours, okay, are going to be pretty freaking huge. So a lot of you have been hitting me up about recruiting. The one thing I don't like about the early signing period is that all of this stuff is happening while we have to get ready for the Ole Miss game. So obviously there will be no tossing of shoes like our last live stream. There will be no, I guess you could say, overreactions from me from finally seeing my beloved LSU Tigers beat Florida like our boy Falk got done in the late 90s. But ultimately, this live stream is going to be very recruiting based because that's what all of you guys are thinking about right now. But I want to start with Max Johnson. I cannot say this enough. When everything around you is mediocre in any aspect of life, it is always good to be good at a lot of different things. Okay, no matter, let's say, for instance, you move to a new city and you don't have a job. Well, it's better to have a lot of skills. Were you a carpenter? Were you a teacher? Were you an administrator? All those things are very important. Max Johnson proved something that a lot of us thought the entire time while we were going through the quarterback debacle earlier this year. And we say hi to Marvelous. We say hi to Nick. We say hi to Lemon. We say hi to Debbie. We say hi to Jake. We say hi to Kane. We say hi to Jonathan. But really quickly, before we get into recruiting, when everything around you is not great, you have to step things up yourself. And I really do believe this to be true. I don't think Max Johnson is a way better quarterback than TJ Finley or Miles Brennan. But there is a major thing that he has over the both of them. He can run. And if you watched our LSU film study from yesterday, where we broke down all the critical plays of LSU versus Florida, 80 to 90% of the breakdown were offensive plays. Max Johnson proved one simple thing, James. That if you have just the little threat of running, it opens up everything. Now, why is that important with LSU? Well, it's simple. Like I said just a minute ago, everything surrounding LSU's offense right now is service level. We'll put it at that. LSU's offensive line is service level. Not horrible, but they're not great. More often than not, they're more meh than good. They were horrible against Texas A&M. They got better against Alabama. And they were pretty good against Florida. But a big reason why they were good against Florida is because their defensive line couldn't be as aggressive in the run or the pass simply because Max Johnson can run. We proved it time in and time out. On top of that, LSU's running backs are meh. They're meh. Okay? LSU's wide receivers, very talented, but this group is meh. Not obviously one of the best wide receiver, offensive line, or running back groups we've ever seen. But simply one thing holds to be true. If the quarterback can run, it limits what you can do defensively. And Florida's defense wasn't all that great. So, to answer James's early question here, Max Johnson proved that he could play in the SEC. Now, it's just one game. Florida didn't have a full game of film on him. All they had was garbage time duty. They weren't ready for it. So now we see what Max Johnson can do this Saturday, knowing that Ole Miss is going to be ready. Now, Cliff says this LSU running back group isn't meh. Well, let's talk about that. LSU's running backs in 2019, better than this group. LSU's running backs in 2018, probably about the same. Then in 2017, 2016, 2015, 2014, 2013, they're way better than this group. Which is why we go into recruiting, okay? Because all of you want to talk recruiting. To me, the most fascinating position is running back, as Jonathan points out, okay? Now, why do I find running back to be the most fascinating? Because for so long, LSU was happy with Corey Kiner in the class. And we say hi to Mike. Thanks for the super chat. Okay? Don't forget, you can Venmo and Cash App as well. So this lets me know that the LSU coaching staff views their running back group as very meh, to answer Cliff's question. Now, why is that? Well, LSU has 3 running backs, 2 of which can't go to the NFL next year, even if they wanted to. John Emery and Ty Davis-Price. So they are definitely coming back. They already have Kevontre Bradford, who's also a freshman. Then they have Corey Kiner committed. But what has happened in recruiting? All you have to do is follow late offers to let you know how LSU feels about their position groups. If LSU was comfortable with their running backs group, they probably never would have offered Logan Diggs. They never would have turned up the heat on Armani Goodwin the way that they have in recent weeks. But the reason why the heat has been turned up is because you saw it on Saturday. Kevontre Bradford, he caught the touchdown, dropped everything else. John Emery and Ty Davis-Price, I don't know if they got injured against Florida, but they trusted Chris Curry and Josh Williams in crunch time. What? Really? Josh Williams, your 5th string running back, was the running back on the field during the famous Shoegate play. With the game on the line, the 5th string running back's on the field. That lets you know everything you need to know about the running backs group right now. So that's not me being critical so much of Ty Davis-Price and John Emery. Maybe they got hurt in the second half and we don't know. But Chris Curry, who, as we showed in the film study, runs straight into every defender and every block, was the preferred hand in crunch time. What this tells me is Kev Falk wants to bring in his own guys. Logan Diggs gets an offer. Armani Goodwin, now that Gus Malzahn's fired. He even decommitted before that, though. That lets you know that LSU turned up the heat on his recruitment. And he has always been connected to LSU. Now, James has always been a Hargrove guy out of Ruston. Wouldn't be surprised if he got a late offer. That lets me know LSU wants to move on at this position. So it is what it is. Emery had a shoulder injury and TDP was hurt as well. I just never read that anywhere. That could be the case. But it goes to show you, We've been, since the Vanderbilt game, we've been expecting John Emery to take that next step. Does he look like a 5-star right now? He could be next year. Sometimes it takes a third year. I still believe in him. He's still one of my favorite players on this team. He's got some real superstar potential. And obviously, Destrehan's been a great place for LSU over the years. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I just think the way the recruiting of the running back position has been over these past few weeks lets us know everything we need to know about the group. TDP hurt his foot. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So both of them, that's what they said, that they both got injured. Either way, the overall running back group is going to have an overhaul. And I think we'll see that over the next year. And I agree with a lot of you saying the offensive line has taken a step back, which is why having Max Johnson on the field is so important because of his running ability. It opened up huge holes in the running game simply by holding that defensive end on the zone read. That alone accounted for, I would say, probably 70 to 80% of LSU's rushing. Now, some of you have been critical of Kev Falk's running back rotation, which has been very strange. And as one of you noted to me in our last live stream, and Matt Moscona also brought that up. And it is strange. It has been a weird rotation. But remember this, Kev Falk, where did he get his chops as an NFL player? Oh, yeah, the New England Patriots, who is a notorious franchise for rotating running backs like crazy, whether it be Falk or Corey Dillon or James White or whoever. So, no, Cliff never said fire Kev Falk. No one ever said that. Notice he's my background for a reason. Thanks, Jonathan. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. So, a lot of you want to talk recruiting, all right? Before we get into recruiting, I do want to point out one thing. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, okay? Florida deserves all the blame for them losing that game this past weekend. They deserve all the blame for resting Kyle Pitts in a game that they needed to have, okay? And then on top of that, not only did they rest him in a game that they need to have, their defense decides to allow a team full of freshmen and 4th and 5th string backs and a depleted offensive line to come in your house and dominate offensively. Now, LSU also got very lucky. Obviously, the ricochet interception. Obviously, somebody chunking a shoe 20 yards down the field. We got very lucky to win that game, but ultimately, breaks matter. And if there was a team that deserved breaks in that game, it was LSU because we were so undermanned. If the roster we had at the end of the game would have been the same before the game would have never been played. We didn't even have 50. We didn't even have 50 healthy guys. So Ed Orgeron and his staff deserves a lot of credit. But I want you to hear me out here. There were 2 players that LSU got extremely lucky with on Saturday. 2 players. Cordell Flott and Chasen Hines. Both of which have had very spotty years. And spotty, I'll say this, Cordell Flott's been better than Chasen Hines at his position. But still, both have had up and down seasons. Now, I'm not the only one who has said this, okay? You guys have pointed this out. A lot of people have pointed this out. But why, during this wretched year, has LSU been reluctant to play more players. Have you noticed that? LSU this year has never benched players that are struggling. But something happened against Florida that was very lucky for us, okay? Cordell Flott kicked himself out of the game for targeting. Now, it was an unlucky targeting call, but it happened. Chasen Hines, after committing 2 holding penalties in the row, one that wasn't called, and then on the very next play, a holding penalty that prevented Chris Curry from scoring a touchdown. If they would have reviewed that run in the third quarter, they would have probably given Chris Curry the touchdown. But because it was a hold, after we had burned a timeout, remember, we pushed the ball back. It's at a 3rd and goal from the 1. It was 3rd and goal from the 11, and Kevontre Bradford dropped a pass. He wouldn't have scored anyway. But still, Chasen Hines got hurt on the play. We replaced him with Cam Wire, and guess what happened? We got the best right guard play of the year from a guy who doesn't even play right guard. So, LSU got lucky in that both of those guys, who has had rough performances in recent weeks, were replaced by Dwight McGlothern, who we have been clamoring to get some snaps. We have been screaming at the top of our lungs to let Dwight McGlothern play, and a kid who wasn't even expected to play played well, all things considered. The touchdown he gave up, he was pushed off on by an experienced receiver on the road. So what does this tell you? That coaches aren't as good at pointing out who their best players actually are from practices alone. Because there's no reason for Dwight McGlothern to have played as little as he's played this year. The only reason he played is because LSU had nobody else to put out there. So what are we doing? Against Ole Miss, if somebody struggles just a little bit, throw someone out there to see if they're any good. Those game experience snaps are huge. But anyway, we'll get into recruiting because that's what most of you guys want to talk about. I just wanted to point that out because I've been saying on here for weeks, I don't like to criticize player performance. I don't like doing it. These guys not getting compensated for what they do. They're playing in the middle of a pandemic for my beloved Tigers. I'm behind them 100%, and I am actively cheering for them during the game. But I only point out when they perform bad. It is not a personal thing. It's not. It just frustrates me when there's guys on the bench who practice just as hard, and when the guys in front of them don't play well, those guys deserve an opportunity. So we say hi to Ron, we say hi to Jigga, we say hi to Devin, we say hi to Lemon, we say hi to Christopher, we say hi to Nick, we say hi to Mr. Mickey, we say hi to Dexter. So guys, recruiting is upon us. So all of you are talking about Maason Smith, okay? What's up, Velvet? So obviously, recruiting, there's 1,000 different things we can talk about. The best way to get your topic talked about tonight is by donating to the channel via Super Chat. Oh, Carvis is here. Okay, the recruiting discussion's about to ramp up now that Carvis is in this thing. So obviously, recruiting and everything could get very complicated. I'm trying to pin this thing right here. So let's go ahead and do this, okay? Who is the one player you want me to discuss first? Okay? Now, if you Super Chat or Cash App or Venmo, I got my phone right here. If you do that, we go to your topic immediately. Okay? Now, before I continue, there are 92 of you here, but only 24 of you have hit the thumbs up button. Okay? So hit the thumbs up button. Now, Cliff and James have been with me. Let me get the one final word on Kev Falk. I'm fine with holding him accountable. I don't agree with people saying, well, yeah, you don't just you don't know as much about running back as Kev Falk does. So why are you asking? You can question things. Always question things. You can question me. That's a great thing about this channel. It's free-flowing ideas. No one's taking a personal shot at Kev Falk. He's okay to be questioned. I agree. Sometimes I don't know what the running back rotation is supposed to actually be. Okay, so Cliff wants to talk about Tristan Lee. I'll say this. It's probably not going to happen. It did help that he was in Gainesville when LSU beat Florida. The Tristan Lee ship is sailed. It's sailed. But everyone's thinking Tristan Lee is going to go to Oklahoma. And they're saying the same thing about Savion Byrd. So you guys always hear me say this. No one recruit makes a program, and there's no such thing as a must-get recruit. But if LSU does only finish with one offensive lineman, when the year before they had only 3 offensive linemen in the class, remember, it takes 5 of those guys to play. And on top of that, it looks as if Bradford and Cardell Thomas, if they've not seen the field yet, you know, what's holding them back from beating out Chasen Hines? Unless Ed Orgeron has undying loyalty to Chasen Hines. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But yeah, you know, I just don't think the Tristan Lee thing is going to happen. Rajon Davis and JoJo Earle are waiting to sign, as is Chris Hilton. I think you should feel comfortable about Chris Hilton. I've read other places that he is going to sign early. I don't know. I don't like getting into too much of the minutia of recruiting. I think you should feel comfortable, though, with Chris Hilton. The guy that you should care more about, even more so than Rajon Davis, even though this guy is rated lower, JoJo Earle is just, to me, my number 1 player in this class. Sage Ryan is my number 1 player, but I'm factoring in need. Because LSU desperately needs a Sage Ryan in their defensive backfield. Now, I've been more encouraged with the secondary play against Texas A&M and Florida, but Sage Ryan, to me, is my clear-cut number 1 home state 5-star recruit. I just did a deep dive on 5-star recruiting at LSU. A lot of you saw that LSU has never missed on a 5-star defensive back. This dates back to Craig Lawson. Now, some of them were All-Americans. Others were just multiple-year starters. But, you know, the 5-star defensive backs are just automatic at LSU, and Sage Ryan could be better than all of them. So, you know, he's my number 1 player, but JoJo Earle is my number 1 player in this class. If I'm just talking football, that is the only guy I overly care about in this class. Legit, that's the only guy. Everyone else, if they decide to go elsewhere, all the power to them. If they decide to sign with LSU, congrats. You're going to play at the most wonderful institution in the world. You're getting to live out a dream that every kid like myself that played high school football wanted to live out. You're getting to run out there in Death Valley on a Saturday night. Whether there's fans or no fans, anybody that puts on the LSU helmet, I'm a fan of. Okay? But as I've talked about this before. I've talked to former players about this before, some of which were 3 stars, some of which were 5 stars. You got to come in with the mentality that you want to work, okay? You're never good enough based on just your high school performance or your tape, except for a select few. And my only 2 players in this class, I could say beyond reasonable doubt, that will be all SEC, All-American performers in this class is Sage Ryan and JoJo Earle. Those are the only 2. Everyone else, I think, are very good players. They are rated that way for a reason. But just by what I've watched, those are the only 2 guys that I'm like, God dog it. So we'll see. Now, some of you are bringing up Bryce Langston. I like Bryce Langston. a thicker defensive end who could play some defensive tackle. Does he end up going to Florida or LSU? I don't know. Lemon, I love you. I really do. But never compare a linebacker to Devin White. especially Navantique Strong, who is the number one JUCO linebacker that everyone's expecting to go to LSU after he decommitted from Mississippi State. If he comes to LSU, I hope Strong turns out to be a Devin White. But just because, we're in this emotional stage where we're hoping that every kid comes and we think that they're going to be the next Devin White. Well, Devin White's one of a kind. Devin White's the best linebacker to play at LSU, potentially ever. I would say ever. He's the best I've seen. So we'll see. A lot of you are worried about Keanu Colt. He has shot up rankings. He said that he's been pretty firm to LSU. We'll see what happens. Bryce Foster, the offensive guard, we'll see. I don't think he's really on LSU's radar just by what I've read. Now, some of you will say Brady James was the best. I think that's fair. That's a fair assessment. To me, Devin White was an All-American 2 years in a row. And that's really freaking hard to do. So we'll see. New CFP rankings. We'll get to that a little bit later. Obviously, if there is a kid that you want to talk about right now, Cash App, Venmo me, or drop a super chat. There's 120 of you watching. Only 45 of you have smashed the thumbs up button, so please do that. If you think there's another LSU fan that would be interesting or interested in my perspective, share this video with them. What happened to Tristan Lee? Did the losing change his mind? So you got to remember this about Tristan Lee. Okay, his situation's a little bit different. Okay, let's go to James with the super chat. Elias Ricks, and we'll get back to Tristan Lee in a moment. Elias Ricks has the ideal recruit mental makeup. And we talked about this in our 5-star recruiting piece. This is why I put all of my chips in the middle with Elias Ricks instead of Eric Gilbert. So before the season began, I listed my 5 top players for LSU football this year, just who I thought the 5 best players were. And I put Eli Ricks at number 4. Now, there were some misses there. I had Mo Hampton as number 1. We all miss in life. But I put Elias Ricks higher than Eric Gilbert for this reason, okay? Elias Ricks' mental makeup, as James has pointed out. And I'm not saying that all the other recruits have weak mental makeup. The difference with Elias Ricks is one simple thing. He has bite. Well, I didn't like him celebrating going into the end zone. The simple truth is most defensive backs are cocky, narcissistic, crazy fools. You've got to be a fool. You've got to be able to have a very strong identity to play cornerback. Because here's the truth about Elias Ricks. When he was thrown into the fire against Mississippi State, on the very first series, he was burned for a touchdown. Undercut a route that he shouldn't have undercut. No problem. Was lights out the rest of the way. Not many guys can do that. Like I said, a regular person like us, and fool wasn't the best word. I'm just pointing out that regular people like us don't have that mental makeup. Elias Ricks does. He's smart. He processes information really quickly. He reads routes really quickly. And you got to have bite. And my favorite thing about Elias Ricks, he was playing at Mater Dei High School. Then he said, let me go 3 time zones over to go play at IMG Academy in Florida. Okay? That's why I love him. Because guess what? He didn't have to do that. He didn't. He challenged himself. He humbled himself and said, let me go to a school where I'm not the big deal anymore. Like it was at Mater Dei High School. Where everywhere he went, they called him Pick Six Ricks. His mental makeup was different than most recruits. And he played on 2 different coasts at the best possible high school you could play at in your state. And he was lights out. And he fought through injury. And he fought through injury this offseason. And he's still been this good. It is crazy what this kid has gone through to be as great as he's been. Okay? And the Advocate did write a good article about him. But ultimately, he's just a different species of a human being. The problem is most recruits are not like that. Most recruits are used to being the big shot. They're used to being told how great they are. They're used to being the biggest star in their area. That is the best thing that happens when you go to IMG Academy. You're not the biggest star in your team. You never are, because the team is totally made up of 4- and 5-star recruits from all around the country. So it does a lot for your psyche. Ricks does remind me of Patrick Peterson. Good question. That's how you do it. The now legacy. Will Maason and Corey play together for the Tigers, or will Bama steal them? So I don't think Corey Foreman's going to go to Alabama. I don't know if that's a good, for one thing, the last 2 top 5 national defensive ends that have gone to Alabama left within the year. Okay? The Alfano kid out of New Jersey and Anobi Amobi, or whatever, I forgot his name, had some real off-the-field issues. Now, why is that? Well, at Alabama, you got to wait your turn to play on that defensive line. Even at a position where they rotate a lot of guys. Deshaun Hand was a 5-star, top 15 national guy. He waited his turn, and now he's starting for the Detroit Lions. Corey Foreman wants to go somewhere where he could play right now. And I just don't see that fitting with Alabama. I don't think Maason Smith is going to Alabama either. Shea Dixon and all those guys that know way more about recruiting would tell you it's LSU or Georgia. I know Corey Foreman, Maason Smith has said his finalists include LSU, Georgia, Miami, and Bama. I think a lot of people would be very shocked if he chose Alabama. A lot of us would be shocked if he chose Miami. Now, for Corey Foreman and Maason Smith to sign and play together, it looks as if that's either going to be at LSU or UGA. Now, that doesn't mean that Corey Foreman and Maason Smith are out of the question for Alabama. These are 17 and 18-year-old kids who are both rated the number 1 player in the country. Maason Smith by Rivals, Corey Foreman by 247 Sports. So I just don't know if both of them will go to Alabama. I just don't think that's going to happen. Honestly, I think Nick Saban is trying everything he could to get in the last second Sage Ryan to go to Alabama. But that's not going to happen either. So I think all 3 of those guys are not going to go to Bama, if that makes you feel any better. I think Sage Ryan goes to LSU. I think Maason Smith goes to LSU. LSU has not missed on a 5-star prospect since an in-state 5-star prospect since 2011. Every single one of them's hit except Tyron Johnson, who's in the NFL, transferred when Brandon Harris and Anthony Jennings were their quarterbacks. You would have transferred if those 2 guys were your quarterbacks. You would have transferred if you were playing for Les Miles during that time. So, it just is what it is. Now, Lemon says Corey Foreman will go to LSU. So, if you think Corey Foreman's going to go to Clemson, type C. Do you think he's going to go to Arizona State, type A? Do you think he's going to go to LSU, type L? He could go to USC or Arizona State or wherever. Where do you think Corey Foreman's going to go? And I'll give you my honest response. God, most of you say L. Most of you really think Corey Foreman's going to go to LSU. James, stop. You donated to me tonight, though, James. Brandon says, if you're Corey Foreman, why go to USC where you don't even know if the current coach will be there? Well, I guess Brandon's not paid attention to what's happened at LSU. Some very serious things are happening at LSU, including another report from the USA Today. So, guess what? You want to know why Rajon Davis is holding back? Because he doesn't know who his defensive coach is. So I don't think from an LSU perspective, you can go by saying, well, we don't know what the current coaching situation is going to look like at school X. We're not talking about Quinn Ewers tonight, Evers or whatever his name is. That's a class of 2022. That's some kid who's not going to go to LSU. He is ridiculous, though, and he's got the mullet. But Quinn's going to go to Ohio State, more than likely. Has anyone talked about Bo yet? Reggie, we'll talk about Bo Pelini if you drop a super chat. So here's the thing. I'm going to ask you one more question, okay? To answer, let me make sure I get the name correctly. To answer the Now Legacies question better. And Silky, we'll talk about Bama, Florida a little bit later. All right? LSU needs another DB coach? What? I don't think so. I think we're doing fine there. Bill Bush getting Derek Davis Jr. here is pretty big. I think he deserves his job just because of that. So, I want to see how much you guys actually watch my videos, okay? I'm going to ask you a question to the Now Legacies super chat, okay? Who would you rather have for LSU? If you can only choose one, would you rather have Corey Foreman or Maason Smith? If you can only choose one, would you rather have Corey Foreman or Maason Smith? And we'll see how much you guys actually watch my stuff. Would you rather have Corey Foreman or Maason Smith? Okay? I'm going to let you guys respond for a little bit. Let's see if I got any Venmos or Cash App. What is this? Okay. Bill Bush did get Joe Burrow. That's right. He did play a role in that. So a lot of you are right. You'd rather have Maason Smith. Okay? You want to know why you'd rather have Maason Smith? So Overtime says we have 2 DT studs already. I'm not sure if, and I've said this before, I'm not sure if Corey Foreman's not a better defensive tackle in a 4-3. I really do believe that. Now, I think he's a great defensive end as well, but Corey Foreman's, his tape reminds me a lot of Aaron Donald's high school tape, if you ever go back and look at that. So you'd rather have Maason Smith just because he's from Louisiana, and it does prove to be a difference. For those that didn't see it, a lot of you did watch it. I showed how just in the past year, now it's not some factual thing, but historically, 5-star Louisiana prospects bode well better for LSU than out-of-state 5-star Louisiana prospects. And you'd have to go a pretty far ways away where LSU has had a 5-star out-of-state kid work at LSU. They never work outside of defensive back. So the bottom line is 5-star Louisiana players want to be here. That's what Coach Smith is saying. You got to have guys that want to be there. So Hopefully now, Legacy, that answered your question. I do like Corey Foreman a lot. Now, if you watch him and then you watch someone like Jadeveon Clowney, who was also the consensus number 1 overall player, I don't think Foreman's close to Clowney. I just don't think so. That's just me. Okay? If I included last year's class, a defensive lineman, I mean, the Brian Breesy kid that went to Clemson, I like better than Corey Foreman and Maason Smith. I think he's really special. But I think Maason Smith is really good. I really do. The one thing though that concerns me about Maason Smith is that he's going to have so much pressure at a position where you legit can't press. To really learn how to play defensive tackle, you first have to, get the basics down, and then eventually you hope he turns into Glenn Dorsey. So, if I were to put a handle on the most important players that need to sign for LSU, Sage Ryan is number 1. That's going to happen. And then Maason Smith is number 2. I think those are the 2 most important. But JoJo Earl, who I think is a 5-star talent, I think out of all the high school players that I've watched in the class of 2021, I don't know how he's not a 5-star. I really don't. I mean, he really pops off the screen. I mean, he's ridiculous. Sage Ryan, I think, is going to sign tomorrow. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yes, Maason Smith is huge. And then after Maason Smith, Sage Ryan, and JoJo Earl, they're obviously Garrett Dellinger just because of numbers. And he's also a good prospect, but, it's huge to get an offensive lineman in this class. And then, it gets into your personal preference. So for me, I'm starting to get worried about Kari G. I like Kari G a little bit better than a lot of people do. I love LSU safety class, but LSU really wants to get Jordan Gilbert in this class as well. So we'll see what happens. The bottom line is Corey Foreman's going to sign somewhere tomorrow, and we won't know where exactly he's going to go until January 2nd. So we'll see. The sleeper in this class is JoJo Earl, and it's not really a sleeper because he is a high. If LSU gets Jalen Waddle return out of JoJo Earl, which I think so, that means he was a 5-star player rated as a 4-star player. So I don't know if I can call him a sleeper. I like Kari G a lot. I'm a huge Kari G fan. And the reason why I like Kari G is because safeties nowadays need to be like him. I think he's a lesser version of a Jamal Adams, a box safety linebacker type. A good comparison would be Jacoby Stevens. So, Kari G might wait until February. And if he waits until February and Jordan Gilbert signs with LSU, I think Kari G is going to want to go elsewhere. I hope that doesn't happen. I really don't. I really like Kari G coming out of Atlanta. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Like I said, I'm a little bit higher on him than most, but he's a fill the alley safety. And if you've seen LSU's running defense this year, you desperately need those types of guys if Bo Pelini's going to keep doing what he's doing. So we'll see. Why do you know the guy named TJ LSU Dad? Go look him up and then pay it. What? How about Devontae Strong out of Mississippi JUCO? He looks great. If he comes to LSU, big deal. Gets LSU's best linebacker's been a JUCO guy too. So, or a transfer per se. I don't know the answer to that, Brandon. Devin says he doesn't want Jordan Gilbert. I disagree. Anytime you can get a good player from Baton Rouge, I like it. I really do. Punch? Yeah, I would love a punch. Y'all want to see Bug? Let's go get Bug. G is not better than Langlois.
I went ahead and got more pork chops, too.
Got more pork chops?
Yeah.
We're having pork chops tonight.
And I got your sauce.
Let's see. So here, I'm extremely, I don't like commentating on Matthew Langlois because I'm extremely biased because a kid from New Roads, Louisiana is about to sign to play for LSU. I'm from New Roads. Means a lot to me. My mom's family's from New Roads. So, yeah, I'm a little bit biased when talking about Matthew Langlois. If I'm just talking about players, I mean, I really, really like Cargy a lot. I really do. Does Miles come back? That's a juicy question. We're talking recruiting right now, Shadow, but if you drop a super chat or a Venmo Cash App, I'll give you my answer to that. But I don't want to disrupt the recruiting chat because that's why 170 of you are watching right now. But really quickly, let's get our booger break in. Obviously, all your Cash Apps and super chats, we're not pimping her out, but all you got, I get angry emails when we don't get a booger break. Oh, she doesn't have her collie on, her LSU collie.
I don't know where it is.
I think it's up.
Up.
And what's out of big? She is our National Signing Day good omen. There you go. Go on ahead. Get her upstairs where it's warm.
It is warm now. Are you not warming up?
No, it got warm. It got warm down here. And what's out of big? Softshire coming back to Louisiana. He's going to USC. I think Coach O sticks with Johnson long term. I think it's too early to say that. Let's see. What are some alternatives if we miss on Maason Smith and or Sage Ryan? So, Alex, that's the dangerous gambit you play. So, I think LSU process. We're seeing some booger comments.
No, I want to see them.
Well, we had Jonathan. Jonathan says, "I know I'm being." Well, Jonathan's the one that always wants bug.
Oh my bad.
Shropshire's going to USC. Yes, Larry, there you go. Look at that. If Bugger, he says Bugger. If Bugger doesn't make an appearance soon, I'm checking out. I like it. See, our views went up when Bugger came on the screen. So for those that don't know, all your Cash Apps, Venmos, go to Booger's monthly kidney medicine that we have to pay for because she's up there. She's in the less mild stages. So
she's not either.
No, well, look at her.
She's fine. She's very comfortable and happy.
See, that's the thing, Yusha, because Booger's kidneys have gone down. I'm being positive about them. She can't have food like that. She's got to have a certain kind of.
She's on a very strict diet.
For those that don't know, I got to get bags of KD, and if you have a dog, you know what I'm talking about. KD is a special type of kidney food, so your money goes to paying for her KD and all her medicines and all that. Yeah, she's the most important thing. Boog would have beat Bama in 2011.
Would you beat Bama, baby? You need your
night. That's true, Spence. We should do that. I think they do that on the SEC network.
2 new candles.
2 new candles. What are we smelling tonight? What is this? Warm leathered amber.
Doesn't that smell nice?
Ooh. Oh.
Come here, babe.
There you go, baby.
You like it?
Yeah. All right, I got to get back to this Cruden. Alternatives to Maason Smith. There are no alternatives. LSU's doing the Leonard Fournette thing. Okay. Remember that where Les Miles didn't take a running back in the class of 2013, which, by the way, is really dumb. Every recruiting class, you should take a running back because the position has such high turnover and high injury rate. You should always take a running back. So LSU did that just to tell Leonard Fournette, this is you. This is your thing. Okay. A lot of you remember that. I think LSU is doing the same thing with defensive tackles in this class. They're saying, Maason, the home state 5-star, the other defensive tackle's not here anymore.
I can't do broccoli. I forgot to get foil.
Oh, that's fine. Don't worry about it.
Can I do Brussels?
Brussels are fine.
Is that fine?
I like Brussels sprouts. Plum, you left your dog outside?
Oh, no,
Plum, we're saving the puppies. Plum let this dog out in the cold.
Oh, no.
Class of 2020 ranking was 4, according to 247. So that's the thing. As long as you recruit in the top 5 nationally, but ultimately LSU whiffed on the offensive line position in recent years. There's no other way around it.
You want me to go get full?
Yeah, you can if you want.
It's already 8 o'clock.
Well, then don't worry about it. Let's Smith lawn tonight with the LSU sign. That would be very weird. It's 7 degrees, state of Neptune. Where are you watching from? I think Jordan Birch is a defensive tackle as well. I do. Okay, someone just asked if we could get someone from Auburn. They had a 4-star Armani Goodwin. I think Armani Goodwin would be a very good pickup for LSU. Like I said 20, 30 minutes ago, the way LSU has shifted up their running back recruiting lets you know everything you need to know about the group. Because, Logan Diggs gets this offer so late. We'll see. If Logan Diggs was a higher priority, they wouldn't have offered him here at the latter stages. But now they offer him. If you're Logan Diggs, you're like, well, I could go to Notre Dame? Really? I think it'd be cool if a kid from Louisiana has a shot to go to Notre Dame. Wasn't the last Louisiana guy that went to Notre Dame, wasn't that Jared Tillery? The offensive tackle who moved to defensive line and just dominated at Notre Dame, and now he's with the Chargers. Jerry Tillery or Jared Tillery? Isn't that his name? Jerry Tillery? I think he went to Evangel. Yusha, one of my coworkers got a Bama. Thanks for the chat, my brother. I'm taking a screwdriver with me to work tomorrow, and I just happen to have it. Please do it, Yusha. Please do it. Bama's been having too many W's. They're good this year. But they still wouldn't beat us last year. This year's Bama team would not beat us last year. Yeah, Jerry Tillery. The kid was a baller. Yeah, I don't know if I don't think I think Gus Malzahn's offense can work. I just don't know if it could work in the SEC. And I think what's really weird about Gus is he made the dumbest move in the world to hire Chad Morris. So I still don't get it. Yeah, I guess I don't know TJ LSU dad. I guess I don't. Wait, hold on. I think I know who you're talking about. I don't remember. TJ LSU dad. It rings a bell. Pep Hamilton to offensive coordinator. Pep Hamilton to offensive coordinator. Wasn't his last job in the XFL? What does Pep Hamilton do?
You can have paneer. You want paneer or Brussels?
Paneer's fine.
Okay.
So yeah, let's talk about all due respects to TJ LSU, Dan. I don't want to talk about another creator.
That's such good sportsmanlike conduct.
LSU could go to the Saints again. Pep Hamilton is the Charger QB coach. Cool. Kafka is Kafka the guy at Indiana? Who I don't.
Where's the flashlight?
It should be right there.
She's out there in the waddy. This is when Booger's bad.
I know.
By the way.
I think we need some analysts. Well, some of you want Russ Callaway to call the plays next year. That's what Rhett's saying. Yeah, I'm going to check out LSU Dad after this. I think I know who you're talking about. But, we'll see. Chiefs QB coach. Russ Callaway is brilliant mind. Interesting. Once again, there's 159 of you watching, but only 65. Okay? Now 161. Only 65 people have hit the thumbs up button. Jocko Willenick for defensive coordinator. Why not? They beat a hard-nosed group. Oh, Antonio, that's a pipe dream. Eric Bieniemy is going to get an NFL head coaching job. Why would he ever want to come here and be the offensive coordinator? Russ Callaway does know how to hit that gritty. Any surprises tomorrow? So Jonathan, who, by the way, dropped a super chat a little bit earlier, said that he has a bad feeling in his stomach about tomorrow. How many of you feel good about tomorrow? How many of you actually feel positive about tomorrow on National Signing Day? How many of you are refreshing 247 Sports every 2 seconds? See, Dez is actually a true LSU fan, okay? I never feel good on signing day. You got to be positive tomorrow, baby. Here's what I always say, okay? And you should say this after every single recruit signs wherever they want to sign. Even as high as I am on JoJo Earl, as great as I think he is, as crazy as I find it that he's not a 5-star recruit. And I think I have some, not conspiracy, but I have some reasons why I don't think he's a 5-star. But as much as I love JoJo Earl, and as much as I love Sage Ryan, no one recruit makes a program. Always remember that. So if a player decides to go somewhere else, whether or not he has a change of mind, whether or not the prospect is getting some cash benefits or their family's getting a job somewhere or whatever recruiting conspiracy thing you want to hear about. No one program is built on one recruit. Always remember that. Okay? National championships are never built off of one player. Never. Because if they were, if you were to ask me who I think the greatest LSU players are of the championship eras, I would give you 2 guys. Okay? When you factor in multiple years of excellence, when you factor in leadership, when you factor in all those different things, more than 1 year of excellence, I would give you Devin White and I would give you Patrick Peterson. Those would be my 2 best LSU players, okay? When both of them left LSU, they won the SEC championship and they went to the national championship game. Always remember that. One player doesn't determine your success. Even when LSU lost 2 of their greatest players and leaders of all time, they still went to national championship games. Okay? Everyone wish Aiden good luck on his midterm tomorrow, or her midterm. Aiden, best of luck to Aiden. Everybody, because here on Power Hour LSU, we are about grades first. Everyone wish Aiden good luck. What is your midterm in tomorrow? Maybe I can help you. Maybe we can help you with your grades. Because we all know in the world of college football, grades come first, right? DJ Bucci. Good luck, Aiden. 75 Black LEO. I appreciate your huge super chat over the weekend. I really do, man. You're right, T-Bone. So, as great as those 2 guys were, and they would be the first to tell you, it wasn't because LSU didn't win because they left. There's so many things that factor into your team being good. Okay? No one player. So if Maason Smith decides to go somewhere else, wish him the best of luck. Okay? Wish him the best of luck. But we move on. LSU fans, we move on. Always remember this. The team is stronger than one person. Stronger than one coach. Stronger than one player. Stronger than one assistant. Stronger than one staff member. Okay? Always ask yourself this question. What is the right mindset to have long term? Okay? What is the best long-term solution? Dwelling over what a teenager decides to do with his life over the next 3 to 4 years is none of your concern. It's not. Now, there are some things, like obviously if Maason Smith decides to go somewhere else, that sucks. Okay? It really sucks. If Sage Ryan says, bloop, Alabama, that sucks. I don't think that's going to happen. I think both of them are going to go to LSU. But always remember this. Hype is not reality. Okay? Remember this. Jabril Cox is gone. Okay? Jacoby Stevens announced that he's going to be gone next year as well. All the power to him. What's up, Alex? Yeah, it's kind of tough to say that you're going to play in a Senior Bowl and then come back because, wait, I think you could theoretically, but I don't think that can happen. What's up, MM Hokie? Alex just finished his last exam ever. Like, did you just now finish it? Because we all just told Aiden's actually going to go study for an exam. Congratulations, Alex. Well, then what's Ed's purpose if he can't recruit the top DL for sure in Louisiana? I mean, he's made Maason Smith the top priority from day one. I've been told by the inner workings of LSU football that Maason Smith has been Ed Orgeron's the number one player he's recruited. If Maason Smith decides to go to Alabama, look, if you're a 5-star recruit and you can go anywhere, trust me. I'll tell you this. When I was an LSU student, okay, I'm not an elite recruiter or anything like that. I was so dead set on going to LSU, okay? But one thing that I realized when I traveled to other campuses to go cover games or just be a game as a fan, I realized something. All the SEC campuses are beautiful. They're all wonderful, okay? So when you go visit as a recruit, you see that, okay? Athens is one of the coolest college cities I've ever been to. So, yeah. If a kid wants to go somewhere else, guess what? LSU's not the only great program. Sometimes we get caught in our bubble where we think, oh, well, LSU's like the one thing I care about. And if I was a recruit, I would care about it the most because I'm from Louisiana. And no. If you're Brian Thomas Jr. and you know Texas A&M and Alabama would take you up like that, both of those campuses are ginormous. Exactly, Cliff. Athens is unreal. Great college city. I agree with that, Kane. Emma Cat says, is Title IX really going to affect recruits' decisions? I would say this, okay? 10 years ago, no. Not at all. But now it's different, okay? Now we know what we know happens on college campuses. Now we know that universities don't report on things and there's cover-ups and whatnot. So now they actually do care. Recruits do care more about that stuff. They are more socially aware. of things like this. For instance, take Tristan Lee. You notice when things started to cool down about LSU was when a lot of that stuff started to come out. Which is a lot of sense because Tristan Lee's mother and his brother are reportedly going to move wherever Tristan Lee's going to go. So if you're going to pack your bags and move somewhere when a program is in the middle of an investigation, you're uprooting your family's life. I guarantee you that played a role in Tristan Lee's decision. Thanks to you, Mike. But Amakat, that's your mind. Okay? You know, maybe that doesn't affect your decision. But I guarantee you every recruit thinks about those stuff. And it may not be that they actually care about the investigation, but maybe a recruit thinks, well, if I go there, what if they go on probation and I can't play for a national championship? So, yes, of course that matters. Of course that matters. Oh, for real, DBU7? Did you really say that? Outside of Sage, who is your fave expected signee this week? That's a good question, Austin. So outside of Sage and JoJo, so I said this earlier, and I think you're just joining us, Austin. It just doesn't. Those two guys are on a different level than everyone else in this class. And I guess I would put Maason Smith in that group. After that, I'm telling you, I really like Kari G a lot. I like what I see out of Savion Jones. I really do like him a lot. I think he could be a good player at LSU, like a Marlon Favorite type of player. You know, a lot of people like Greg Penn a lot. You know, Greg Penn becomes a more important recruit if Rajon Davis decides to go to Ohio State or wherever. You know, we haven't talked much about Garrett Nussmeier. So we have very limited film on Walker Howard, okay? And Garrett Nussmeier's been fighting injury. His team this past weekend was actually down to their third-string quarterback in a high-level Texas playoff game, and they were still able to win without him, I believe. I don't remember. So we'll see. I like Keanu Colt a lot. I like any player that signs with LSU. It's too hard to tell with high school tape and whatnot if a kid is not going to be any good or not. There's really only been one time where I watched a recruit's highlight tape and I'm like, wait, what is anyone seeing? And it was Clifton Garrett. He was a 5-star linebacker in the class of 2014. And I remember this so clear as day. And I was just now starting to get into recruiting writing. I was with Bleacher Report at the time. And I remember writing, I was like, wait, so Kenny Young, who's in New Orleans, is a 4-star and a way better player than Clifton Garrett. That was the only time where I watched a tape and I was like, wait, how is this kid a 5-star? He's playing in Illinois. What? So we'll see. Austin's a Landon Jackson guy. That's fine. We'll see. I think Landon Jackson's very interesting. Played a lot of tight end in high school. Great athlete. Really fast player. Yeah, Clifton Garrett was a total bust. That was the only time where I legit, the only time. And I was early, and I was like, it was early in me actually watching recruiting tape. All right. And I was like, what is happening? What am I supposed to be? If I see a 5-star prospect, you need to be dominating. Matthew Langlois has 5-star film. He's not a 3-star. Like I said, there's no one player I want to work more than Matthew Langlois. I just still find it crazy that there's a kid from New Roads going to LSU. That's just so crazy. So we'll see. What did TJ do that was good? Well, a lot. Stepped in against South Carolina, played really well, threw a game-winning touchdown in crunch time in the rain against Arkansas. Don't take Max Johnson's performances anything being taken away from TJ Finley. He's a good, capable SEC starter. To me, the biggest difference between the two of them, and it could just be the way football is now, when you have a quarterback that runs, it changes everything. So anyway, we do this every live chat. I need to know where y'all are watching from on Recruiting Eve. I think this is the highest number of people we have watching on a Tuesday night. It could just be National Signing Day buzz. I like that. Normally, it's just our post game, so that's great. I'm having pork chops for dinner. My bug's healthy. My girlfriend's happy. But is she though? She said, is she though? Houston's in the building.
Any Dallas folks in the building?
Jonathan, there's some difference makers in this class. Absolutely. Jacksonville.
Okay.
Sage Ryan's a day one difference maker. And I really hope he comes. Marksville. What's up, Marksville? Fort Benning. Orange, Texas. Debbie, you've been with me since day one. What's up? Ann Arbor, Michigan. I know it's cold AF. Biscuit. Someone just said they're from Biscuit. What town is named Biscuit? CZ Bisley. What is Biscuit? DMV. Where is Biscuit? Muscle Shoals.
Muscle Shoals.
Heck yeah. The 337's in this thing.
Not the 337.
Avery, our resident Bama fan. Avery, you don't know nothing about them pork chops, baby. Oh, I like the way Kirk said it. Metri. Metri is in the business. In the business. Yeah, so is it true that Chris Hilton signed it tomorrow? I hope so. Lots of injuries he's had to fight through. And I like that. I don't like that he's been injured. But the good thing about a 4- and 5-star recruit getting injured is that it's real adversity. Terrace Marshall got hurt his senior year. Then he got hurt again. Still turned out incredible. Jonathan, it looks just like Garrett Dellinger and hopefully a JUCO transfer. That's a good point, Palmero. Max not only played better, he didn't have Terrace Marshall or Eric Gilbert to throw the football to. But there is a freedom that comes with playing quarterback when you feel like you don't have to force the ball into anybody. That was part of the really good thing about the 2019 team. Part of the reason why everybody was so good on that offense, I want you to go back, and this is the most amazing thing about that 2019 offense, okay? That group, how many times did you ever watch LSU force a ball into double coverage or throw the ball late? You can't really point to a Joe Burrow throw where he just kind of forced it just to force it in there. It just doesn't happen. Because Joe Burrow threw to the open guy. That's how he played quarterback. Threw to the open guy or threw to the guy with an advantage, a matchup advantage. That's how quarterbacks should play the position. Okay? Brett up in Cincy. What's going on, Brett? I hope you subscribe to the channel. Welcome. We got Anchorage, Alaska. What? Brandon, what's up, man? How is it in igloo country?
You did
That's a good way to put it, John. Yeah, the Oklahoma game's a good example. You know, they said that they were going to double Jamar Chase. So Justin said, I'm going to eat. And Justin didn't eat. He had a Thanksgiving feast. So that's how quarterbacking should be. So when you don't have Terrace Marshall and when you don't have Eric Gilbert on the field, who are such huge matchup advantages where you go in saying, well, I know I got to get the football to them because they're really good players. That's not how it should be done, okay? You should play quarterback the way quarterback should be played, the way Drew Brees plays it, the way Russell Wilson plays it. Russell Wilson doesn't just say, okay, I got DK Metcalf, freak of nature. I'm going to throw to Tyler Lockett. I'm going to throw to the fifth-string tight end. So we'll see. Plum, your phone is dying. So Plum let this dog out in the cold, and his phone is dying. Put it on a charger, Plum. Don't, Plum. Somebody loan Plum a cell phone charger. Somebody loan Plum your cell phone. Here's the problem, Plum. Do you have an Android or iPhone? Because if you got an Android, I think you're out of luck. Because this feels like an iPhone live stream group. I'm an iPhone all day, okay? Even though Tim Cook's an Auburn grad, I'm team iPhone. How can the guy that runs Apple go to Auburn? Like, how could that be the case? Pick sixes. TJ did throw a lot of pick sixes. He threw one against Auburn where he got lucky and made the tackle. He had a fumble for a pick six or a fumble, scoop and score, whatever, where John Emery should have made the tackle, but still was a red zone turnover. Miles didn't have any. Miles had one throw that should have been a pick, but because the throw was such a duck. Thank you, music. That's a cool little graphic. The plug. Look at that. The plug going into the phone. Dang, Plum's phone really died. Plum's phone really died. None of you stepped up and went to Plum's home in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Can someone in Lake Charles watching this go find Plum's residence and give the young man some power?
You don't have no phone?
And like we've said, we hope everyone in Lake Charles is recovering just fine. And that's part of the reason why I want Garrett and Nussmeyer to work out, because he's got a lot of family in Lake Charles. It's out of Cat Daddy Holdridge.
Is he in there?
He's in there. You got to be a running back. QBD lines are getting better. We need like 6 offensive linemen. You're right. They need a huge overhaul. What's up, Carter? I like that name. Thank you, Chris.
You shaved.
Heck yeah, I shaved.
He didn't.
Atmore, Alabama's in the building. Brett says, what do you think about our chances with Corey Foreman and Tristan Lee? Neither one are that high. Oh, I ain't got no fresh cut. I do need a fresh cut. All right, so let's see, because I'm starting to get a little pork chop hungry. I will hang out for a few more minutes if we get a Cash App, Super Chat, anything you guys want to talk about.
Donate to the Booger Fund.
Donate to the Boog the Dog Fund for dog food. Oh, will not. And Tartar. Oh, will not sit Max if he lights up Ole Miss. So that's the thing. Let's say Max Johnson lights up Ole Miss, okay? That's a problem, music. Oh, I need that Steve Harvey line or that Jalen Rose line. Ooh, how does that dude have such a fresh taper every 2 seconds? He's on the live stream. But here's the issue with Max Johnson is that he's in he's in a difficult position going into this weekend. Because if he lights up Ole Miss, a lot of people are just going to say, well, that's Ole Miss. They're the worst defense in the SEC, which they are. Their defense is worse than LSU's. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. So how many of you, okay, let me throw this out of here. We haven't talked much quarterback tonight. That's what I kind of like about this recruiting class, because we already know what's going to happen at quarterback. So unfortunately, the Caleb Williams thing didn't happen. That ship sailed. I think he's probably going to win a Heisman at Oklahoma. We'll see. But we got Shreveport, Louisiana in here. I like it. But let's throw this out of here. How many of you think Garrett Nussmeier is a real deal? Because I get so many messages about Garrett Nussmeier being the real deal. Because Amacat seems as if Garrett Nussmeier to him is like a Zach Mettenberger, Joe Burrow type of quarterback, like one of the better quarterbacks at LSU. And by the way, both of those quarterbacks are Met and Burrow are complete opposite quarterbacks. I'm not asking you what you think, Ron. Or I'm not asking you what you hope. I'm asking you what you think about Garrett Nussmeier. T-Bone sees him as Aaron Rodgers. Ooh, okay.
That's bold.
So Daz is the first one with kind of a negative comment about Garrett Nussmeier. He says he's Danny Etling at best. Ooh, okay. So Garrett Nussmeier, QB son at QB makes for winners. Okay. Garrett can sling it. Walker Howard's the real deal. Okay, so Cliff says the class of 2023. So I don't want to make this about Arch Manning, because when we bring up Arch Manning, the chat goes crazy. I don't want to talk about high school sophomores. But Arch Manning did just lose a home playoff game against LCA, who didn't have Sage Ryan on the field. And some of you say the kid out of Zachary, the Holstein kid, is actually the real deal in the class of 2023. So Ron says he likes Walker Howard better than Garrett Nussmeier. Carvis, I actually like that comparison. I think Baker Mayfield's a good comparison. So my honest opinion of Garrett Nussmeier is I think Aaron Rodgers is a really, really bad comparison. I really do. Because I don't think Nussmeier has that type of cannon. Just from what I've seen. Okay, I could be wrong on that. I've missed on quarterbacks before. We all have. I think Baker Mayfield is a really good comparison. I really do. Garrett doesn't have like a cannon where it's like, okay. And I'm not saying you need to have a Jamarcus Russell cannon. I think most people see Garrett Nussmeier's arm the same way you would view a Joe Burrow arm. Something that's not like a rocket, but it's
got some gumption.
It's got some oomph to it. Now, is Garrett Nussmeier particularly fast? From what I've seen, he has some escapability, but it's not. He's not. Obviously, no one's Lamar, but he's not even. I don't think he has Joe Burrow's mobility. So I'll put it this way. I don't think Garrett Nussmeier is a guy that could come in and just win the starting job. That's just me. That's just my personal evaluation. 2 or 3 years down the road, he will be competing for that job. Exactly, Brad. There's some patience involved with that. So, I think Garrett Nussmeier is really good. But obviously, quarterback's a development position. Not many quarterbacks are good as true freshmen. Exactly, music.
You know who would be a good quarterback?
But
and Maddie could be on.
Will he be as great as Aaron? I don't know. Walker Howard may be better. Well, it's still early. So I'll tell you this. So Garrett, the one thing Walker Howard and Garrett Nussmeier have in common is they both have elite weapons. So Walker Howard has Jack Besh, who's obviously going to sign tomorrow, and Walker Howard has J. Michael Sturdivant, who I think is going to USC. So they both played at good high schools, both of which are making deep playoff runs, both of which have dads that are quarterbacks. It's still too early to say which one of them are definitively better. But if I had to choose based on the limited of what I've seen and what I've heard, I would think Walker Howard's a slightly better quarterback. But like I said, Joe Burrow wasn't Joe Burrow until 4 or 5 years into his college career. Nick makes a good point. Bo Nix was a 5-star recruit. What's his deal now? He's got 2 receivers that'll play, at the very least, make it to NFL training camp. I think so too, Carvis. I do think so. Bo Nix's dad was also a quarterback. It is going to be interesting to see what TJ Finley does. Obviously, this game against Ole Miss is huge for Max Johnson. Oilfield Trash 12. I like that name. Oilfield Trash. You're not trash. Nobody is trash that works in an oil field. Now, that's a man's job right there. I used to cover an event that included a oil rod wrenching competition, and there was $1,000 on the line. It's the most intense thing. I'm dead serious. At my old radio gig, I would do play-by-play for the rod wrenching competition. I'm dead serious. My girlfriend can attest to it. There's video of me actually doing it. Oil field. I wish you could see it. And here's the thing. There's no registration or sign up. It's anyone that wants to walk up and do it. And the winner, there's no second place prize. The winner wins $1,000 cash on the spot. $1,000 cash to the rod wrenching winner. It's the most impressive athletic event I've ever covered. I'm telling you, you get people of all backgrounds out there trying to rod wrench. It's a thing of beauty. I love it, man. I have a buddy. His name's Frank Foster. He's a country singer. He does a lot of songs about oil fields. What do I think about Corey Kiner from Cincinnati? I think he's good. Obviously, the first thing you think is like Clyde because he wears number 22. It's short, squatty back. Love him. But LSU wants another running back in the cycle, and they're going to get one. Armani Goodwin, Logan Diggs. I think LSU will land one of the two.
All right.
Mr. Ohio. The last Mr. Ohio to play at LSU turned out to be pretty well. How about that? Matt Leinert's probably the most overrated college football player of all time.
Whoa.
So I see two USC comparisons in a row. Kind of reminds me of a better version of Reggie Bush. We go from comparing Garrett Nussmeier to one of the best NFL quarterbacks of all time. And now we're comparing Corey Kiner to not be the next Reggie Bush, but a better version of the last non-Alabama running back to win the Heisman. A better version of Reggie Bush. T-Bone, man, I love you. All right? But I can't paint myself as an LSU channel that gives honest analysis and let that just go by the wayside. Okay? Now, if I hope Corey Kiner's better than Reggie Bush, but Reggie Bush is probably the best college running back of the past, 10, 15 years? That's a good question, Spence. How many signatures do you actually get tomorrow? And that's key. Spence actually asked a really good question right here. Okay? How many signees do you actually get? Well, there could be an argument made that you don't want too many signees tomorrow. I think a good number would be 18 and 19 signatures. It could be less than that. It could be more. But as many of you know, LSU is only going to get to have 81 scholarship guys next year. It could be up to 90 because if seniors decide to stay, they don't count against the scholarship count. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But okay. You're just more likely given a comparison. And your avatar is Alvin Kamara. I like that. That's true, Reggie. The quarterback recruiting is completely different. Even though Brandon Harris had some of the worst quarterback coaching you'll ever see. Could we get Jorge Munoz back? Why? Have you seen Baylor? I think Derrick Henry was better in college than Reggie Bush. You can make an argument. You can make an argument. I just don't know. Leandria, about time. The resident chef. How many spots does O keep for transfers? We'll see. All right, guys. We got about 10 or 15 minutes left on this. Get your questions, get your super chats on in. Haven't had a super chat in a while, or a Venmo or a Cash App. Once again, there's 99 people on this live stream, but there's only 163 of you, or okay, we hit 100 likes. Boom. Beautiful. If Marcel Brooks decides to come back, good. If he doesn't, I hope he pans out where at TCU. Eastside, I'll donate. I'll donate to that tombstone. SPH bringing in the Bama perspective. Bama is happy with Damon Payne, the 5-star DT from Michigan. He is a good player. And Dallas Turner, the 5-star DE from Florida. Evaluation, no Foreman and Smith. That's from SPH. He's connected with Alabama. That's very interesting. Oh, Leandria, I'm glad you're okay. Thought you had the C-19. Cam Cameron was a disaster. Where's Brooks going to play if he do come back? You know, Marcel Brooks posts one thing on Instagram, and a lot of you go nuts. Whatever happens to Marcel Brooks is going to happen. That's a good question, T-Bone. We haven't talked about the McGee kid. I hope he signs at LSU because obviously, we haven't talked about cornerbacks. LSU has 0 corners now that Wiggins has decided to go to Clemson. And I get it. Who doesn't want to go to Clemson? I don't get not dropping Florida after the loss to LSU. That's a bad loss. That is a bad loss. And that goes to show you what happens when you don't have a button-up team. And the cracks started to really show. So a good example of this is Dan Mullen against Georgia. So UF went down 14-0 to Georgia. Then they took a headshot at Georgia's quarterback and knocked him out of the rest of the game, and that changed the rest of the game. They didn't have JT Daniels playing at the time, which was stupid. Georgia's had real issues evaluating who the best quarterback is in the past during the whole Kirby tenure. See Jake Fromm and Justin Fields. Anyway, I watched a good bit of that game, and Florida was just sloppy. They're really talented, but they're sloppy. It's hard to be a sloppy national championship program because every game matters so much. The last minute of the Florida game was the worst clock management. What part about it? Was it Dan Mullen calling the timeout with 27 seconds left? Because that was really stupid. Why would you call a timeout and allow a field goal kicker to regather himself when he's kicking the football on your Florida Gators logo in the fog? Now, that's not to take away from Cade York and that extremely clutch kick, but icing him or saving time in that situation doesn't make any sense. He's a senior kicker. You want that whole unit to rush because here's what happens when you call that timeout if you're Dan Mullen. Okay? Let's say LSU rushes out onto the field and has to kick the field goal with the clock running, and there's less than 10 seconds remaining. And if LSU commits a false start penalty, it's an automatic 10-second runoff. LSU was in complete disarray getting the field goal unit out on the field. So Dan Mullen called an awful timeout. Now, Ed Orgeron's timeout management once again came back to bite LSU. So early in the half, it was 3rd and goal from the 1-yard line. LSU elected to call a timeout with 15 seconds left on the play clock. Now, the timeout in that situation for me is justified if the play clock's about to run out. But if it's not about to run out, just run the play that you have called. Okay? Just run that play. But LSU elected to call the timeout. If they would have saved the timeout, they would have been able to better manage the end of the game. So, it's a problem. It's a huge problem. You should never in a close game burn a timeout in the second half. And LSU continues to do it. It ended up biting them in the rear end against Missouri, where they burned a second half timeout on offense again when they didn't need to. And here's the thing. This is LSU. You have multiple people making millions upon millions of dollars doing things that don't make sense. It's suboptimal. Arkansas was 6-5 going into that LSU 2007 game. Yeah, that was a funny thing. Darren McFadden was up for the Heisman and the record wasn't that good. But that Arkansas team was unreal. Peyton Hillis, Darren McFadden, Felix Jones. Craziest game I've ever been to.
Guess where they went to play?
I don't know about that. No, Les Miles. Okay, let me put it this way. Ed Orgeron manages a game better than Les Miles. But most of you could manage a game better than Les Miles.
No shade.
Exactly, Amacat. It didn't, and I understand Dan Mullen wanting to save time to give his team, and ultimately, if you're Dan Mullen, you could justify that because it did give you time to go down and tie the game, and your kicker has to make that kick. So in defense of Dan Mullen, that decision actually does make a little sense. But the biggest blunder Dan Mullen made was not taking LSU seriously. And it's hard to say whether a coach takes a team seriously or they don't take him seriously. But if you would have taken LSU seriously, Kyle Pitts would have played. What's up, Bo? Just stumbled across this cat. Who is this guy? What's up, Bo? Got the nice wedding avatar. I like that, man. Was that from your wedding, or were you in the wedding? What's up, man? Welcome to the channel. Subscribe, brother. You an LSU fan? Let's see. You do what, baby?
I'm about to stand up and eat right here.
What you eating?
My food. All your shit's hot.
Is my stuff hot and ready to eat?
Yeah, but you just stay on there.
Well, Bo just joined. I can't leave and have dinner now that Bo just joined.
Okay, well, then you can reheat it up.
I'm gonna have to reheat my food because of Bo. Because Bo decided to show up late. Come on, Bo. You're like as new to the channel and you show up late? Any chance we get Foreman? King Mo, what's up? No, I don't think so. Kyle Pitts was hurt, though, actually. Then why did every single person say that he practiced every day leading up? This is your national championship opportunity. You play hurt. You play hurt. Will we have a Merry Flipmas tomorrow? I like that, Bo. You come in with a clever comment. I like that. Yes. Hopefully Armani, well, he's decommitted, but I hope Armani Goodwin comes. We'll see. How many of you think the Logan Diggs thing is going to happen? Do you think Logan Diggs is going to say, hey, look, got Coy Moore, my fellow Rummel Raider? Do you think LSU's calling up Jamar Chase and telling Logan Diggs to flip? Why was Stingley out? That's a good question. Now, we've talked a lot about Derek Stingley on this channel. Here's by far the most interesting thing about Derek Stingley this year. He has not made one media appearance. LSU has not made him available to the media. Don't read too much into that. I just find it interesting. I really do. Yeah, I think Stingley was banged up in warmups. And like I said, don't focus too much on Derek Stingley Jr. not being available because for most of the year, he's not been available. There have been more games he's been unavailable and or gotten hurt in the middle of the game than he's actually been healthy in games. Once again, in life, your best ability will always be availability. I brought up, stand-up comedy. Okay? I couldn't tell you how many comedians that are 10 times funnier than me don't get booked for gigs because the venue or the club cannot rely on them showing up on time and doing their set. Even though they're funnier than 90% of the comedians. I've seen it happen so much. So many comics get caught up in the lifestyle. Your best ability is availability. And Derek Stingley Jr.'s injuries have really hurt LSU this year. Now, that's not me calling him out for getting hurt. That's not what I'm saying. Don't misconstrue that. Don't. But it has hurt LSU in those games when your best player gets hurt during those games. It's not a criticism of Stingley. It's just a criticism of the situation. King Mo, I've said that a lot. It's very interesting. It is very interesting that the two players who have made the most media appearances are two guys that are brand new to the program. I don't know. It has been very interesting. So I'm the Amy Schumer of football. Ah. Oh, because I brought up comedy. I think Amy's kind of funny. Der Clavishblier. Der Clavish. No, Amy Schumer is a lot richer than me. So everyone welcome Bo. Tomorrow's going to be a flipmas. I like that. All right, guys, I got to sign off here in a minute because the pork chops are hot. Who's ready for pork chops? How many O-linemen end up in this class? I hope a miracle happens and some random 4-star offensive lineman or Tristan Lee ends up with this LSU class. Billy, that's a good question. You know as much as I do. Obviously, the injury set him back. You know, I never like to overhype an offensive lineman, though. And the reason why is because so much of offensive line play is cohesion. How do you work with other people? Yeah, Bo, check out all our stuff, man. Drip always in late. Drip, I think you're cheating on me with other LSU content, which is fine. But Drip's always like, I'm going to sign in on the chat at the very last second. Oh, yeah, who dat, baby? Jalen Hurts was just getting revenge for what happened last year in the playoffs. And I totally get it. Oh, yeah, Chris Ghost? Yeah, Chris Ghost is dope. Bo, that's how I roll, man. We don't sleep over here. We stream till 4 a.m, baby. Let's go. Okay, so before I sign off, would y'all rather me just do a recruiting video tomorrow night, or would you rather another live stream tomorrow night? Would you rather another live stream tomorrow night? Because if I do another live stream, I gotta hope I get some super chats for the live stream tomorrow. Would you rather just a video? T-Bone says live. Juan says live. PJ says video. King Ulysses, what's up, man? Y'all want a live stream tomorrow?
Well, I'm not going to be here.
We'll do it live tomorrow? Okay. So hear me out on this. Okay. Tomorrow night's live stream is going to be tight. All right. But here's the thing. If you say do a live stream tomorrow, there's 122. Because here, I don't want to make live streams like just like an every night thing. It's not. Because I like producing videos. All right. If Bo, our newest subscriber, comes by tomorrow at 7 Central, we'll do another live stream. So how many of you are available tomorrow night at 7 Central? Because some of you requested us do a live tomorrow. 7 Central. Ron was waiting for synergy. I like that. Y'all have very good comments. Yeah, Maason Smith tomorrow at 3. Armani Goodwin's also tomorrow at 3. I think those are two big ones for tomorrow. So So you'll be there, Wandon. Wandon. Is that Wandon? That's a cool name. 8 Eastern. Brett, you're on the East Coast? What's up, Brett, on the East Coast? Okay, so all of you tomorrow, 7 p.m. Central. We'll do it again tomorrow, okay? Amacat, you can't show up late, man. Cannot show up late. So King Ulysses, I know you showed up late tonight. But if y'all are live and ready to go at 7 Central, I'll do it again tomorrow. 7 Central. Okay? We get both Goodwin and Smith. I might do a video and a live stream tomorrow. Why not? Forget it. So we will see you guys tomorrow at the live stream. We're going to do a quick blitz here. All right? Any question, you could throw it this way right now. Okay? Okay, let's do this instead. Let's do this. Who is the one player you're the most nervous about? Who will flip? The one player I feel really nervous about, Maason Smith. A lot of you are saying Maason Smith. That's the guy I'm most nervous about because obviously Maason Smith is for sure going to sign. The one guy who I'm sick to my stomach about is JoJo Earl. Okay, but we won't know anything about JoJo Earl, I believe, until February. 337 says Maason. I like how Bo said, what's the percent we get him? And 337 Bo just simultaneously said 1,000%. That's a good question, Cliff. And we will hopefully have that answered by tomorrow. So, guys, obviously Smith and Lee, but really Maason Smith is the biggest for me. So, yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central, okay, for a live stream. JoJo did not decommit, and do not start that rumor. But I really want JoJo to sign with LSU. That's the one guy I'm freaking out with internally. So we'll think about Destin Hill and Malik Neighbors. I think those two guys are the best receivers in this class. Some of y'all think Jack Besh is the best receiver in this class. Marcellus, we're about to sign off, man. I'm sorry you're just now joining. 337 Bo, repping Lafayette. I like that. We haven't talked about Chris Hilton a lot tonight. Yeah, Elias. I think JoJo's better than him. I really do. I really do think he's that good. I really do. So we'll see you guys tomorrow, 7 p.m. Central. Signing off. It's pork chop time. Let's go. It's power. Hour. LSU. Boom. Boom. Let's go, Maason Smith. Let's go.